"Oh, but Lego, he's only 19, you gotta give him time, you gotta give him this." Yes, I know, he's really young. And that has been the main response that I have used as well every time we talk about the negatives with first overall pick Juraj Slafkovsky. You see, we had spent the entire summer talking about his shortened season of 2022-2023, how it really was not great by first overall pick standards, and how for Slafkovsky heading into this upcoming year, there were a lot of improvements that needed to be made. However, when it comes to the ever so elusive Montreal Canadiens first overall pick, this is a guy who has had the spotlight thrusted upon him for the wrong reasons. And these are reasons that a lot of people can easily just look up and acknowledge themselves, because so far in 2023-2024, Juraj Slafkovsky's second year in the NHL, the guy has 1 point in 9 games played. 0 goals, 1 assist. He is on pace for 9 total points on the season, which would technically be worse of a production rate than he had last year, when he had 10 points in 39 games. There's no doubt about it, Juraj Slafkovsky has been a quote-unquote disappointment if you're looking for first overall picks to start becoming immediate point scorers in the NHL right away. That's not Slafkovsky's fault, though. Is it? You see, the thing is, when it comes to the way Slafkovsky has been deployed, there have been a lot of concerns from Canadiens fans as to that Newhook, Slafkovsky, and Anderson line, and how it just hasn't really worked out in terms of giving Slafkovsky the right opportunities and the right fit of guys to play with. Both Anderson and Newhook are known as speedy guys who play with a lot of pace. Juraj Slafkovsky was known as a playmaker who just could not start playmaking. And sure, while Slafkovsky has had a pretty interesting showcase thus far, wherein you could say he has looked better than last year, the point production is what fans will immediately go out there and talk about. So why are we making this video here today? Well, what I wanted to do was turn your attention over to Hattie K on Twitter, because Hattie, of Dobber Prospects, always does some very good work and is a very smart hockey mind to follow on Twitter. They posted this Twitter thread earlier yesterday regarding the Juraj Slafkovsky conversation and how everything has gone about this season so far. So, let's lean into what Hattie K writes about in regards to Juraj, starting out with the intro. As much as Slafkovsky's lack of production worries me, he, firstly, has not come close to being caught with his head down once so far. Okay, firstly, that's a great point. Slafkovsky's head-down problems were one of the biggest conversation points from last year. The fact is, it was an issue. He was getting bodied around by guys who are only 5'9", like Marco Rossi, and so with this season coming into play and having Slafkovsky always having his head up, this is good. Almost a necessary development there. Slafkovsky also started leaning into his playmaking game, which is his stronger offensive tool. And somehow that's concerning to people. Now pause, there were a few games earlier this season where Juraj Slafkovsky absolutely looked great. We had noted how some of the games towards the end of the preseason and at the beginning of the regular season, we really started to see Slafkovsky actually showcase the playmaking talent that he had put on display at the Olympics last year, the World Championships last year, and in the Finnish League in general. There definitely was more of a preference in Slafkovsky's mind and on-ice actions to be more of a playmaker and a guy that could maybe try to get around a few opponents, maybe make a nice slick move, and then send a pass out in front. There were some moments throughout this season where Slafkovsky really looked more so like the playmaker the Canadiens thought they were getting. Maybe not a guy who was necessarily worth the first overall pick, at least not right now at least, but still there. 3. This is what Hattie goes out there and writes, Slafkovsky is connecting plays way better this season too, if Josh Anderson could just stop trying to drive wide and crash the net every 2 seconds. Now here's another thing that comes with the line mates and the territory here. Josh Anderson has always been more of a north-south, very strong, hard-on-the-puck skater type of guy. And we saw him make this his bread and butter, especially in the postseason a few years ago when he was initially acquired by the Montreal Canadiens. Josh Anderson can just go from end to end like crazy, and he doesn't really do too much else in that respect, at least when it comes to creating offense. He's been a lot more of a power-to-the-net kind of guy, and really, I think it's fair to say that the predictability in that is not really all too suited for a guy like Juraj Slafkovsky to be playing with, since, as we had said, it's so predictable, it offers very limited flexibility in terms of offensive potential, and just try to cycle the puck and move things around and get some creative things going on. It's not really all too possible with a profile like that on your opposite wing, but still. Slafkovsky has been in a position to try to connect plays way better, and it has shown off in the results. It's just his line mates aren't really doing him any favors in that respect. And number 4, Hattie writes that Juraj Slafkovsky is improving his board game incrementally, adding pivots and reverse hits to his arsenal. He'll be fine. And yes, this is also something that I noticed a lot too, is that Slafkovsky on the boards is a lot more efficient this season than last. He is winning more battles, he is spinning around a little bit more, and he is using his body, his big 6'3" frame, to make it more difficult for opponents to steal the puck. And of course, these are very small details, but they do make a big difference as you grow and develop as an NHL player. Of course, you probably want to be able to say more about a first overall pick than just, oh, he's getting better at board battles, but combined with all these things, it makes for a pretty compelling argument that says that Slafkovsky has been improving, even though his lack of production definitely is noteworthy. Further to this idea, Hattie goes out there and writes this at the end. Slafkovsky went on a shooting percentage bender last year where his shots were either going in or missing wide, and this has folks convinced that he needs to shoot more. He doesn't. He's doing the right thing. There also is a reply here from Harvey Bernard. I am not going to go out there and read the @ because that's inappropriate. What do you want to see done about Slafkovsky short term? Do you think the AHL is the best way? The reply here says that top 6 winger is still the projection, his skill set is already there, but the mind isn't yet. You fix that by giving him big minutes in big situations. The Habs seem intent on winning, so if he can't be placed in their top line, he needs to play on a top line, therefore AHL. And we've been seeing more and more the idea that Slafkovsky should be in the AHL, not just because of the points straight up, but because of things like this. How Slafkovsky is not really being relied upon too much, and the position he is in doesn't really fester much growth because of the line mates that he plays with. If he was playing more minutes, top line minutes, being given bigger assignments and more responsibility, then okay, you could justify him playing with guys that don't really vibe with his skill set. But if you're kind of giving two short ends of the stick here, you're saying, hey, you're playing with guys that don't really allow you to grow, and you're playing limited minutes too, then you can't go out there and say that this is the best course of action for the guy. Why not play him in Laval? Why not make him a number 1 player in that league? There also was an idea floating around saying that European talent don't really progress much in the AHL, which I kind of disagree because there are a lot of examples of guys that have done well, but either way, for Juraj Slafkovsky, the conundrum is there. But at the end of the day, he still is exhibiting growth in different areas that just don't reflect too nicely on the goals and assists. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the panic regarding Juraj Slafkovsky? We need to talk about this guy because he's only got 1 point in 9 games. He is on pace for literally like 9 points on the season. Not great from a statistical numbers point of view, but it's very clear to see that he has gotten better. It's just, where exactly do those two paths intertwine to a point where you're comfortable as a fan? That's my question to you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What should the Canadiens do with Slafkovsky? Should they move him up to the top line? Should they play him with other guys? Give him more minutes? Send him down to Laval? Hey, just for a quick reminder here, Shane Wright is doing pretty alright with the Coachella Valley Firebirds, so there's already an example of one guy from the 2022 draft doing alright in that capacity. Should Slafkovsky be next? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.